Alexander Cross had everything: absolute power, endless money, a life built on control. But on that rainy night, nothing was under his command. The car moved too fast along the empty road. Rain slammed against the windshield, and inside it, Alexander was not running from enemies. He was running from his own choices. Minutes before the impact, one phone call changed everything. A voice, an accusation, a truth poorly hidden. Alexander tightened his grip on the steering wheel, accelerated, and failed to see the curve. The impact was violent, metal against metal. The car spun, the world went dark. When Alexander opened his eyes, everything was white. Bright lights, the smell of disinfectant, a distant sound of machines. He tried to move. He couldn't. A woman stepped closer to the bed. Tired face, simple clothes, attentive eyes. She spoke carefully, as if afraid of breaking something fragile. Alexander tried to answer, but the question came before his name. Who am I? The doctor exchanged a quick look with the woman. The answer came heavy. Alexander had lost his memory. In the following days, important people began to appear. Lawyers, executives, men in expensive suits. All of them claimed to know him. All of them spoke about companies, numbers, urgent decisions. But none of them spoke to him as a human being. Alexander recognized nothing. Not the names, not the faces, and most of all, not himself. Only one person stayed. The woman in simple clothes. Her name was Emily. She demanded nothing, asked no questions, spoke nothing of money. She simply stayed. When Alexander woke up frightened at night, Emily was there. Alexander did not know yet, but that woman was part of the life he had destroyed, and forgetting was the only thing that had kept him alive until that moment. Alexander left the hospital 2 weeks later. There were no security guards waiting, no cameras, no luxury cars, just an old vehicle, and Emily behind the wheel. He carried a small suitcase, everything that remained of the life he could not remember. As he crossed the hospital doors, Alexander felt something strange, as if he were leaving a world, without ever having belonged to it. The car moved through increasingly narrow streets. Tall buildings gave way to small houses. The noise of the city faded behind them. Children played on the sidewalks. People talked without urgency. Alexander watched everything in silence. That reality felt distant, too simple, too human. "This is it," Emily said, parking the car. The house was small, 2 bedrooms, old furniture, a constant smell of coffee. Nothing there suggested power. Nothing spoke of wealth. And yet, Alexander took a deep breath. For the first time since the accident, he felt peace. Emily explained the simple rules, schedules, small tasks, respected silences. Alexander agreed to everything. He had no other life left to defend. The days slowly took shape. Alexander woke up early, helped where he could, washed dishes, tried to fix broken things, failed more than he succeeded. Emily watched from a distance. Sometimes she smiled, sometimes she looked sad. Alexander did not understand why, but he felt it. Something inside him said he had hurt that woman before. On the first night, Alexander woke up terrified, his heart racing, a heavy feeling in his chest, guilt without a face. Emily appeared at the bedroom door. She asked nothing. She simply sat there, present. Alexander realized something unsettling. He could not remember the past, but his body remembered the pain. In that small house, far from luxury and power, Alexander began to understand an uncomfortable truth. Maybe the life he lost had never truly been his. As the days passed, Alexander began to notice details, small silences, looks that lasted too long, sentences left unfinished. Emily was not just someone helping him, she carried something heavier, something old, and still open. Alexander felt it without knowing why. One quiet afternoon, the front door opened abruptly. Quick footsteps, a child's voice. "Mom." A little girl ran toward Emily, small, loose hair, an open smile. Alexander froze. That scene touched something deep inside him, something that did not come from memory, but from instinct. Emily introduced the girl. Her name was Lily. Lily looked at Alexander with curiosity. There was no fear, no suspicion, just genuine interest. Alexander smiled, a timid smile, an uncertain one. He did not know why, but he felt that child occupied a space that should have been his. Emily noticed, and looked away. That night, after Lily fell asleep, the silence grew heavy. Alexander wanted to ask, but he feared the answer. Long pause. "Her father," he began. Emily took a deep breath. "He is not present," she said. Alexander did not insist, but the guilt returned, stronger, more specific. That night, Alexander had a different dream. It was not confused. It was not fragmented. It was clear. He saw Emily, crying, a cold room, papers on a table, and himself, turning away. Alexander woke up with tears in his eyes. In the morning, Alexander watched Emily prepare coffee, the same movement every day, careful, automatic. He understood something important. That woman was not there out of obligation. She was there despite the pain. And at that moment, Alexander felt fear, not of remembering, but of deserving what he was about to remember. The sound of a car stopping in front of the house broke the quiet routine of that morning. It was not Emily's old car. It was modern, dark, too silent. Alexander felt a tightness in his chest without knowing why. The door opened. Firm footsteps, decisive. A woman appeared at the doorway. She was elegant, impeccable posture, sharp eyes. Every detail about her clashed with the simplicity of the house. Her name was Victoria. Victoria looked around like someone evaluating something she had lost and intended to reclaim. Alexander stood up instinctively. "You took a long time to come back," Victoria said, with a controlled smile. Alexander did not recognize her face, but he recognized the feeling. Fear. 2-second silence. "Who are you?" he asked. Victoria took a slow breath. "I am your wife." Emily felt the ground disappear beneath her feet. Victoria entered without asking permission. She sat down, crossed her legs, claimed the space. She spoke naturally, as if that simple life were only a temporary detour. Alexander watched in silence. There was something about her that stirred bad memories. Even without memory, Victoria spoke about companies, about responsibilities, about urgent decisions. She spoke like someone who does not accept refusal. "This phase is over," she said. "You need to come back." Alexander looked at Emily. "He is still recovering," Emily said, trying to keep her voice steady. Victoria smiled. "Recovering, or hiding?" Before leaving, Victoria stepped closer to Alexander. She spoke softly, only for him to hear. "Do not trust your confusion. It can be used against you." When the door closed, the air in the house felt heavier. Alexander understood something important. That woman had not returned to help him remember. She had returned to make sure he obeyed.
After Victoria's visit, the house was no longer the same. The silence grew longer. Movements became restrained. Even the air felt heavier. Alexander felt it in his body. Something had entered that house, and it had no intention of leaving. Why? Constant pressure. Victoria began calling every day. Sometimes her voice was calm. Other times, impatience slipped through. She asked about doctors, about memories, about progress. Alexander answered little, pretending confusion, buying time. But Victoria noticed. Why? Emily pulls away. Emily began to distance herself, not out of coldness, out of protection. She spoke less, avoided long looks, spent more time away. Alexander felt fear, not of loneliness, but of losing the only thing that still felt real. In a short phone call, Victoria let the mask slip. If this continues, people will get hurt. Alexander understood the message. She was not talking about business. She was talking about Emily. She was talking about Lily. Fear took shape. Alone in the house, Alexander found an old box. Inside, forgotten documents, old photographs, and a worn-out phone. The device turned on. There was no password. Messages appeared. They were his. Cold sentences, orders, decisions without emotion. Alexander felt nauseous. Among the messages, one stood out. That child changes nothing. Alexander let the phone fall from his hand. The past was not erased. It had only been waiting to be confronted. At that moment, Alexander understood something terrible. The lies surrounding him had not begun now. He had helped build them. After reading those messages, Alexander could no longer lie to himself. The feeling that had followed him since the hospital finally had a name: guilt. But there was something else, something that did not fit. The accident had been too severe, too precise. Without telling Victoria, Alexander sought help. An old associate, someone who still treated him as a person, not as an asset. Together, they reviewed medical reports, statements, road records. Something was wrong. One record stood out. The impact was not frontal, it was lateral. Long pause, as if another vehicle had pushed his car off the road. Alexander felt his body go cold. The camera footage was poor, grainy, incomplete, but enough. It showed Alexander's car, and another vehicle behind it, dark, no visible plates, accelerating. The push happened seconds later. Alexander sat down, struggling to breathe. The accident was not bad luck. It was not failure, it was provoked. He thought of Victoria, the calls, the veiled threats, the absolute control. For the first time, Alexander felt real fear. Alexander told Emily everything, without omitting, without softening. Emily listened in silence. When she spoke, her voice was steady. She had suspected it too. If you remember everything she said, you may not be safe. Alexander understood. Forgetting had been protection. Remembering could be fatal. Memory did not return as relief. It returned as an invasion. It was not a single moment. It came in fragments, small cuts to the mind. Alexander began to remember without wanting to remember. Places, voices, decisions made without warmth. He remembered the high office, the glass walls, the city beneath his feet. He remembered how people seemed smaller from that height. He remembered Emily, standing across the desk, her tired eyes, her steady voice, trying not to tremble. And he remembered himself, impatient, distant, afraid. The next memory arrived heavy. Emily holding a medical report, her hands shaking. There were no demands, no accusations, only the truth. Alexander remembered what he said. This cannot happen right now. The words echoed like a sentence. Alexander remembered the pressure, the advisors, the contracts. And he remembered Victoria. The cold logic, the control. The certainty, that was where he chose. He did not choose Emily. He did not choose his daughter. He chose the empire. The next memory was the cruelest. The document on the table. Money, silence, distance. He signed, not out of cruelty, but out of fear, and that did not absolve him. Alexander collapsed onto the bedroom floor. There was no more confusion, no more gaps. Memory had fully returned. He was not only a victim, he was responsible. When Emily entered the room, there were no explanations, only tears, and one definitive certainty. Recovering his memory did not save him. It only forced him to face who he truly was. Memory had returned, but something was still missing. A detail buried too deep. Alexander felt it, like a shadow that remained even after the light appeared. He knew he had allowed something he could no longer pretend did not exist. The envelope arrived without warning. No sender, no explanation. Inside, a flash drive. Alexander hesitated before plugging it in. When he finally did, the last piece fell into place. The voice was clear. It was his, cold. Controlled if it becomes necessary. Make it look like an accident. 3-second silence. Alexander closed his eyes. It was not a direct order, but it was permission. He never planned to die. He planned to control the risk, and lost control. The truth imposed itself. Victoria did not act alone. She executed. What he allowed to happen, Alexander was not only a victim, he was complicit in his own fall. The accident was not punishment. It was consequence. When Victoria appeared that night, there was no confrontation. No shouting, only truth. She spoke few words. You asked for efficiency. Alexander did not answer. There was no defense left. All that remained was acceptance. The truth did not explode. It spread. There was no immediate scandal. There was silence. And then, headlines. The name Alexander Cross stopped being associated with success. It became associated with something heavier. Guilt. Companies were investigated. Contracts suspended. Partnerships dissolved. People who once called him a visionary now avoided his name. Alexander signed documents every day, not to command, but to return. The power that once protected him now disappeared in silence. Victoria was arrested, not as a simple villain, but as a reflection of a system Alexander had helped build. During the trial, she did not cry. She said only one thing: "You gave me permission." Alexander did not deny it. Alexander left the mansion. He moved into a small apartment. No security, no drivers. For the first time, he lived without a public version of himself. At night, the silence was absolute, and within it, Alexander understood something simple and cruel. He was not paying for what he lost. He was paying for what he chose. Time passed, not quickly, not kindly. It passed the way it does for those who can no longer hide. Alexander learned to live without headlines, without applause, without excuses. He did not try to rebuild the empire. He only tried not to repeat the mistake. On an ordinary afternoon, Alexander sat on a park bench. The sky was overcast. The wind was light. Emily approached with Lily. There was no immediate embrace, no promises, only presence. Lily took Alexander's hand. "You are the man who forgot," she said. Long pause. Alexander smiled, his eyes filling with tears. He did not correct her. Emily watched in silence. There was no spoken forgiveness, but there was something rarer: boundaries. Alexander spoke little. He said only what mattered. He did not promise to always be present. He promised only not to lie. For Lily, that was enough. As the sun began to fade, Alexander was alone again. He did not regain what he lost. He did not receive complete redemption, but he understood something he had never understood before. Some people need to forget everything in order to finally remember who they should never have been. Memory returned. The past did not change, but the man did.